spouse, and after 38 years, I'm not too old anyway. I was glad to hear that Commissioner Reddick said there was going to be a work session regarding first responder pay, and we can implement for other employees, because environmental services didn't pick up my garbage, I did landfill in my backyard. You know, when you look at entry-level salaries annually for police officers and firefighters, it sounds like a lot of money to some people. For entry-level police officer, $33,072. Entry-level for a firefighter, $32,260. For a fire medic, there's an additional 9%, I believe. So an entry-level fire medic is $35,152. But briefly, what I'd like for you to think about is, out of those entry-level salaries, you've got $190 a month that comes out for insurance if the employee has a spouse and a child. You have insurance, retirement at 6%, matched by the city, I would admit. Federal and state taxes. Commissioner Newsom mentioned hiring military, and I think both chiefs will tell you that you hire a better employee most of the time if you can hire someone who's military trained. They've wore a uniform before. They're familiar with the rank structure, as Chief Benton said. They know what it means to be respectful to their supervisors. It's just a better employee if you can get them in. Now, you do have to demilitarize them, because we have to tell them they can't court-martial everybody. National Guard and Reserves. Each one of these chiefs can tell you how they're affected, and mostly by a former military person. They leave, and especially now with the war in the Middle East, these gentlemen may lose 5 or 6 employees, 7 employees that are deployed at one time that they can't replace. There's no replacement for them. You talk about getting a grant. After 3 years, we assume that cost. So I would just ask you to consider these issues when you have this work session. Now, I've spoke to, and Mr. Baxley and Mr. White can tell you, an entry-level law enforcement officer and a firefighter that needs an attorney can't afford to pay for one. When I started 40 years ago, I made $169 bi-weekly. The last thing I could do is hire a lawyer. So I try to represent all of those first responders and most city employees for nothing, because they don't have the money. As long as they pay the filing fee, I'll represent them. Put a lot of thought into this, and then implement it for the rest of the city employees. They all deserve it.
But Chief, what's the, you qualify for food stamps, what's the maximum person there? And how close are I to first responders after the August deductions of that?
I've not checked with the food stamp office, so I don't know how close they would be. I would imagine they wouldn't be too far away. They may not qualify for food stamps, but it might be pretty close. Somebody may have that information. I don't know. But after all their deductions, I've had some city employees, especially first responders, because my son's a medical in the fire department for several years, so I wish the chief would give him a raise anyway. But I've talked to a lot of these first responders, and at the end of the month, after they've paid their bills, they might have $5 in their checking account. Some have less than $5. The idea of the mother staying home and raising the children is out of the question, unless the first responder wants to work 3 or 4 jobs. This is extremely difficult. And one thing I wanted to say, all we've talked about today with police officers is men. There are women in the Dothan Police Department that I would let back me up any day. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief.